Hi, language enthusiasts. Welcome back to our podcast series, where we delve deep into the world of language learning and communication. I'm your host, Maya, and today we have a special guest joining us. Please give a warm welcome to Alex, an avid language learner and English enthusiast. Today, Alex will be sharing his valuable insights and experiences on the topic of learning to speak English. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into this enriching conversation. We appreciate you being here with us today. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience learning English?
Yes, exactly. I'm Alex, and I've been studying English for the past 10 or so years. I was a total novice when I first started, but with commitment and work, I've advanced significantly.
So, Alex, why is learning English vital in your opinion? And which typical obstacles did you encounter when learning English, and how did you resolve them?
Since English is a language that is widely spoken worldwide, learning it can lead to many options in terms of travel, employment, and interacting with individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds. For me, pronunciation was difficult at first, and I also had trouble with grammar. However, I discovered that consistent practice and a lack of fear of failure truly aided in my improvement.
Which methods have you found to be the most successful for learning English?
For me, immersion has been crucial. I make a concerted effort to immerse myself in English as much as I can, whether it's through online conversations with native speakers or viewing movies or music.
Speaking any language requires a strong vocabulary. What is the process for increasing your vocabulary in English?
Every day, I make it a point to expand my vocabulary. To help me remember new terms, I attempt to write them down in a vocabulary notebook and utilize them in whole phrases.
As they say, practice makes perfect. How do you work on your public speaking abilities?
To practice conversing with people, I like to attend conversation groups or look for language exchange partners. To maintain my speaking abilities, I also use English when I'm by myself to converse with myself.
Speaking in English can be intimidating for many students who suffer from shyness. Any tips on how to get over this?
At first, it may seem daunting, but keep in mind that everyone makes mistakes. Speak up without fear, and your confidence will grow with time.
How do you handle making errors in your English speech?
I've come to see them as chances for improvement. Every error is an opportunity for me to grow as a language learner and acquire new knowledge.
Establishing objectives can support learners' motivation. What kinds of objectives do you have for yourself when you study English?
I enjoy establishing both immediate and long-term objectives. Setting goals helps me stay focused, whether it's learning a certain grammar rule or becoming proficient in a particular area of discussion.
Which resources have been most beneficial to you as you've learned English?
I really enjoy using language learning applications and online resources like YouTube and podcasts in addition to conventional textbooks and classes. There is an abundance of excellent content available to aid with learning.
It takes patience and effort to learn a language. How do you exercise patience when it's happening?
It's critical to keep in mind that development isn't necessarily linear. There will be days when things are easier than others, but as long as you don't give up and keep trying, things will get better.
Culture and language frequently go hand in hand. How do you apply cultural sensitivity to your language learning process?
I adore discovering new things about English-speaking nations' literature, music, and customs. It not only improves my comprehension of the language but also deepens my respect for those who speak it.
One crucial component of learning a language is developing listening comprehension. How do you work on your listening comprehension?
I attempt to expose myself to a range of speech patterns by watching and listening to English TV series and movies, as well as by listening to podcasts in English.
Language fluency is greatly influenced by confidence. How do you make speaking English more confident?
I tell myself that every discussion is an opportunity to improve and learn, and that it's acceptable to make errors. Speaking well to myself and acknowledging my accomplishments also give me more confidence.
Beyond the confines of structured study sessions, how do you use English in your everyday life?
By reading English news items, switching to English on my phone and social media accounts, and using the language to think whenever possible. I strive to incorporate English into my everyday routine.
Honoring accomplishments can be a fantastic method to maintain motivation. How do you recognize your English language learning accomplishments?
I prefer to reward myself with something special when I celebrate, such as seeing a movie with subtitles in English or speaking comfortably with a native English speaker.
Language acquisition frequently reaches plateaus where advancement appears to stop. How can these plateaus be broken through?
I attempt to mix things up by experimenting with alternative teaching strategies or concentrating on other language-related topics, such as honing my writing abilities or picking up slang terms.
Language learning has undergone a revolutionary change thanks to technology. What technological tools do you use to help you study English?
I enjoy practicing speaking with native speakers on language exchange websites, YouTube, and language study applications like Duolingo and Babbel.
Throughout the process of learning a language, motivation could occasionally fade. How do you maintain your motivation?
I like to picture my objectives and reflect on why I first decided to learn English. I stay motivated by surrounding myself with other language learners and exchanging updates on our progress.
The secret to learning a language is consistency. How do you continue to study consistently?
Even if it's only for a few minutes a day, I make an effort to include studying English into my daily schedule. Regularity is more crucial than occasional extensive study sessions.
An inevitable feeling when learning something new is frustration. How have you handled dissatisfaction during your English language learning process?
Every time I start to lose patience, I take a step back and tell myself that language acquisition is a marathon, not a sprint. I also ask for help and inspiration from my language learning community.
In order to improve, feedback is helpful. How do you go about getting criticism on how well you speak English?
I get input from language instructors, language exchange partners, and native speakers. As a language learner, constructive criticism aids in my growth by pointing out areas for development.
After you achieve a particular degree of competence, how do you push yourself further and improve your language abilities?
I enjoy putting myself through new trials, such as seeing a movie with an accent or reading a book in English without subtitles. Language competency requires constant study in order to be maintained and enhanced.
Joining language learning communities can be beneficial. How do you engage with language learning communities?
I participate in online forums, Facebook groups, and language exchange meetups to connect with other language learners, share tips and resources, and practice speaking with people from around the world.
Balancing language, learning with work, school, or other commitments can be challenging. How do you manage your time effectively?
I prioritize my language learning goals and incorporate them into my daily schedule. Setting aside dedicated time each day, even if it's just 15 minutes, helps me stay consistent and make progress over time.
Learning strategies may need to be adapted over time. How do you adjust your learning strategies as you progress in your language learning journey?
I reassess my goals periodically and reflect on what's been working well and what hasn't. If I notice areas where I'm struggling, I'll seek out new resources or try different learning methods to see what works best for me.
Mindset plays a big role in language learning success. How do you cultivate a positive language learning mindset?
I focus on the journey rather than the destination and celebrate small victories along the way. Embracing the challenges of language learning as opportunities for growth helps me stay motivated and resilient.
What kind of feedback do you use in your language learning exercises?
I consider criticism and utilize it as a roadmap for development. Comments help me improve my language skills, whether it's by improving my grammar, growing my vocabulary, or fixing my pronunciation.
How can you inspire someone who might be having difficulty with the language learning process?
In order to let people know they're not alone, I talk about my personal challenges and experiences. Words of encouragement, helpful advice, and reminders of the advantages of learning a language can motivate people to persevere.
It's crucial to have reasonable expectations when learning a language. How can you control your expectations so that you don't give up?
I remind myself that learning a language is a process that takes time, and that it's acceptable to.
How do you make the most of language exchange partnerships in your language learning journey?
I approach language exchange partnerships as opportunities for mutual learning and cultural exchange. By sharing language skills and cultural insights, both parties benefit and make progress in their language learning goals.
How do you keep your language learning experience fresh and engaging?
I diversify my learning materials by exploring a variety of resources, such as podcasts, books, movies, and online courses. Mixing up the content keeps me motivated and prevents boredom.
What does your language learning routine look like? And how do you stay consistent with it?
I set aside dedicated time each day for language learning, whether it's in the morning before work or in the evening after dinner. Consistency is key, so I make language learning a non-negotiable part of my daily routine.
How do you overcome plateaus or periods of slow progress in your language learning journey?
When I hit a plateau, I take a step back and reassess my approach. Sometimes, it's helpful to switch up my study routine, try new learning methods, or seek out additional resources to reignite my motivation and progress.
Outside of scheduled study sessions, how do you incorporate language learning into your everyday life?
I try to find opportunities to use my language abilities in natural settings, including journaling in the target language before bed or listening to podcasts on my commute. I also try to read news articles during my lunch breaks.
In your language learning process, how do you strike a balance between honing your speaking, listening, reading, and writing abilities?
I try to take a balanced approach to language learning and give priority to tasks that address each language skill. For instance, I read books and articles to increase my reading comprehension, watch videos and podcasts to develop my listening skills, write frequently to hone my writing abilities, and practice speaking in conversations.
What strategies do you use to overcome challenges or obstacles in your language learning journey?
I approach challenges with a growth mindset and view them as opportunities for learning and improvement. I break down larger goals into smaller, manageable tasks, seek out support from language learning communities, and stay adaptable by adjusting my approach as needed.
How do you track your language learning progress, and why is it important?
I use various methods to track my language learning progress, such as setting specific goals, keeping a language learning journal, using language proficiency assessments, and seeking feedback from teachers or language exchange partners. Tracking progress helps me stay motivated, identify areas for improvement, and celebrate achievements along the way.
How do you stay motivated and maintain momentum in your language learning journey, especially during challenging times?
I draw motivation from my intrinsic passion for language learning and the tangible benefits it brings, such as personal growth, cultural enrichment, and expanded opportunities for communication and connection. Additionally, I cultivate a supportive learning environment by engaging with language learning communities, setting realistic goals, celebrating small victories, and embracing the journey of continual improvement.
That concludes our conversation about how to learn to speak English, guys. We sincerely appreciate our Alex sharing her knowledge and experiences with us.
I enjoyed it. I appreciate being here.
Please remember to subscribe to our channel for more language learning conversations and advice. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you found it to be useful and educational. Remember to press the notification bell to ensure that you never overlook any updates. Until then, happy studying. Be